Seems like the world's hottest day today, but we keep on going. So today I want to talk to you about discipline. And if you've clicked on this, you're probably someone who doesn't feel very disciplined. I want you to know that it's actually okay. And your perception of what discipline is probably misconstrued. Because when you think about discipline, what do you think? You probably think of like David Goggins, or you probably think of some kind of like muscly guy who's going on a run at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he's really super serious, and he's like, like, I've got to keep with everything. And if you think about that and you have low energy, no wonder you're not going to think you can do that. Discipline doesn't have to be like that, though. When you look at people who are like billionaires and stuff, do you ever expect them to have doubts in what they can achieve? Because see, I think discipline it isn't just about doing hard things, but it's actually like believing that you can even do those hard things in the first place. So many of us get deterred from thinking that we can be like super disciplined because we think it takes so much hardship and it takes so much effort and it takes so much willpower. But I think some of the most disciplined people out there are not really disciplined because they think they can achieve the thing that they're doing, and they are either like actually enjoying the work itself, or they are happy or excited about attaining the goal that thing achieves, or a mixture of both. Think about like, would we call the most famous artists in the world disciplined? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit, but it's also a bit more of their passion. Alternatively, do we call like sports people disciplined? Yeah, sure we do, but a lot of them kind of don't really want to do anything else with their lives, and maybe in a dark way, a lot of them feel that they can't do anything else with their lives. So discipline isn't always just like having lots of different things around you, but then still choosing to do that one thing. A lot of the time, discipline is actually just choosing the thing you like more. And then with the caveat that, you actually believe that you can achieve that thing. Like, think about going to an ice cream parlor. Now, let's say that you've been to this ice cream parlor and you know that there's a certain flavor that you absolutely adore. You can't get enough of it. You literally can't get enough of it because you go to this place every single day and you always have this flavor. And you've tried the other flavors, but you know that this one is the one you like the most. Now, from an outsider's point of view, if discipline is just always doing the same thing despite there being other things to do, then you could look very disciplined in choosing that certain kind of ice cream over the others. But internally to you, it's not discipline, it's not hard work, it's just the natural choice you would take. So I think if you're feeling overwhelmed by life, if there's too many things going on, if there's habits that you've wanted to build, but you just can't seem to make them work, I think it probably comes down to two things. One, you don't really believe you can achieve what you really want from that. Or two, there's actually just things that you kind of would honestly prefer to do more. Like, I know what, eating healthily. Well, obviously, if you prefer McDonald's, then you're just going to eventually go and eat a McDonald's. It's kind of a matter of willpower, really, if you try and resist that. But so many people who are healthy and stuff, they hate McDonald's. They think about all of the like terrible things in it, and they've spent long enough not eating it that when they eat it, it feels a bit weird. So if you do want to get disciplined, it's actually often more a matter of getting rid of the things that are not what you really want, or making them kind of negative in some way, creating some kind of association. There was a video ages ago. There was a guy called Alex O'Connell. He's kind of like an intellectual figure on YouTube and stuff, and he was vegan for a while. And someone asked him once, like, how he doesn't eat meat because he really likes meat, but he doesn't want to eat it because of ethical reasons. He isn't vegan anymore, but The point he made was whenever he thinks about eating a burger or something, he thinks about all the animals that were slaughtered for it. And when you eventually start making that association over time, you're probably not going to want to eat that burger, are you? So yeah, so if you don't feel disciplined, try and make the other things which you actually seem to prefer to do, like, I don't know what, if you want to go for a run every day but you like prefer playing video games, start kind of making mental associations for what actually running will give you, and start making mental associations for what video games will give you in a negative way. It will make you like fatter, it will like not give you sunlight, it will give you a lot less discipline to a lot less energy to be able to put into other stuff. Yeah. Is there anything else I can say? Yeah, no, it's just that. It's basically just the people who are at the top, they don't have the same mindset as us. And it's because they don't have the same mindset as us that they are at the top. Now, mindset isn't like it alone, but obviously, like a billionaire has far more resources than a homeless person. But there are plenty of people who have become millionaires, or they have become just wealthy enough to like live well, or even billionaires. Not every single billionaire in the world came from inherited wealth. I think there was something like I saw an Oxfam article like years ago, and it said something like 80% of all billionaires in the world have come from some form of wealth inheritance. Now that's fair, like that's a considerable amount of people, but that's still 1/5 of all billionaires in the world who haven't come from wealth. That's quite interesting in itself. Obviously, statistically, you're less likely to be able to achieve it compared to the people who just come from wealth, sure, but there is still that possibility. And we don't all need to be billionaires. We just need to have enough money to actually be able to live life comfortably and happily. And that, requires a little less money than $1 billion. And so, if there are people who have been self-made in whatever form that is, they have been on the same level as some other people. And so the things that have been able to give them more material is connections and experiences. But below that, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, how do people access connections and how do they access experiences? And it comes actually from kind of your mind. Because if you, for instance, don't even think you can achieve what you want from life, you're not going to try. It's very understandable. Why would you expend resources on something if it ends up being fruitless? You're clever. You're not going to do that. So you're not going to try. And that's what so many people do. They just don't try. Or they try, but they slowly let these kind of like goblins into their mind that kind of just keep on critiquing everything, keep on pushing everything negative. I'm not saying you should be delusional and that, if you just think hard enough that you can fly, then you will be able to fly one day. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, like, to get to $1 billion, you don't need resources, connections, time, experience, and so many other things that most people don't have access to, or maybe never even will have access to. But what I am saying is that you do have to give yourself some kind of encouragement. Our world is becoming so much more volatile and it seems so much more scary. It seems like it's becoming so much more authoritarian. Yeah, I guess it's just authoritarian. And so many people are kind of giving up. So many people are checking out. So many people are thinking that it isn't possible for them. Why don't you be different? Why don't you assume that even if you can't instantly become a billionaire, and even if it takes 10,000 more steps for you to become, wealthy enough that you can live happily, if it's going to take 10,000 more steps for you to get into a position where you're happy and wealthy compared to a kid who's literally just born into a trust fund, sure, you've got 10,000 steps to do, and that's more than the kid who doesn't have to do anything. But you've still got some leverage. You've still got something you can do. You've still only got 10,000 steps. And every single time you take that next step, that's one less step you have to do in the future. So life is going to be harder for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people who watch this who are going to be in even like a far worse position than I'm in. But there's also people who have been in much, 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 much worse positions than I've ever been in. And they've still done more of their lives than I have so far. So just take this. Just entertain the idea that if you could actually get what you want from life, how would you be acting? What would you be doing? And sure, you might not have the resources right now, but in the future, those resources might be open to you. And you can build up to getting those resources. If you think that there is a big hurdle that's stopping you from actually starting with the work you need to do, there are actually steps. If you think about it hard enough, there will be steps that you can take so that you can be prepared to actually take that first step as well. Because again, that's another thing. So many people think, oh yeah, I could do that, or I could do this, or I could do that. But here's this big obstacle that's in the way, and until that's resolved, I can't do anything. That's not true. There are smaller steps. It's like there's a big block, and we're here, and we think, okay, once we get on top of that big block, then the staircase to our success and to the top will be easier. But we just need to climb up, and right now we probably can't do that or something. No, there are ways that you can do that. There will be steps if you think hard enough about it, and ask AI or something. There will be steps that you can make to be able to get on that block. Or there might be steps that you can take to be on the same level as the block, so that when you can actually access the block, you can be so overqualified in the skills that you can just fly up them stairs. So give yourself an opportunity to actually believe in yourself. Entertain the idea that maybe you can get what you want from life. And it may be harder than so many other people, but that's all it is. It's just hardship. And you can get through hardship. You just have to break hardship down into smaller and smaller pieces until you can accomplish each small piece. If I told you to run 100,000 kilometers, I don't even know how long that would be, and I told you to do that over the span of 3 years or something, I don't know, that might seem impossible. But if I just told you take a step every single day or something like that, well, that's easy. So your biggest limitation to actually kind of getting to maybe the income you want, or maybe into having the friends you want, or to being able to kind of have the skills that you want, or to be able to get the job that you want, if you're in a harder position, the only thing there is just it will take you longer time. If you're in an easier position, it would just take you a short amount of time. But it's just, if you're in a harder position, you have more steps to take. And that's it. That is it. So think about this. Entertain the idea. What are the steps I'd need to take? And I'll see you guys in the next video.